ready?
It's time for the Jackie Jones Chrysler Dodge Champ Racing Show. Now here's Georgia Hall of Fame announcer Charles Head.
Well, hi there. Welcome. We are at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place, and we got a lot of echo somehow or another on there, so we're going to try to see if we can fix that and not have so much of it. Glad to have you with us tonight. It is the Jackie Jones Chrysler Dodge Champ Show, and we are at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place. What a great time to be here, and a great crowd we've got for you tonight. Tonight I'm celebrating 35 years doing this show. Started it back in March of 1990. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but a lot of water under the bridge, as they say, since that time. So we're so glad to have you here tonight. We've got a huge group of guests. So many of these were part of the first race that I was involved in back when I started announcing back in 1973. And so we're just excited to have so many of those great drivers here with us tonight. First of all, let's get to our results. They're brought to you by Scoot Rice and the folks at Mid-South Cage Equipment. Livonia Speedway raced on Saturday night. Dale Timms won the limited late models. Frankie Beard got the win in the 602 late models. The modified street, or street stock as they call it there, Rex Hambrick got the win. In the street stock challenge, which is stock 8, it was Nathan Bowen the winner, and Jamie Massey won the stock 4. Winder Barrow Speedway, it was James Kaysen, third limited win in a row for James Kaysen. Nick Sellers won the Hobby 602 street stock, modified street. Yeah, Mark Chansey moved up from street stock. Normally he's been that stock 8 winner, but he won in the modified street. In stock 8, it was Dustin Bales the winner. Cody Albright won the stock 4A, Mindy Epps the stock 4B, and it was Jason Daniels the winner of the Sharp Mini late models. My co-host tonight is Rusty Brawner. It's been a long time since Rusty and I have worked together at a racetrack, and Rusty's on his way up now as he's going to join me tonight as co-host of the program, and we're going to talk about a lot of things that happened back in the day and some things that are kind of going on recently, as a matter of fact. Rusty, it is great to see you and great for us to be back together and talk a little racing again.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, Charles.
Yeah,
thanks for inviting me for your 35th anniversary.
Man, you're welcome. Let's talk a little bit about how you got started in racing. Now, you grew up in a racing family, so that makes a difference when you do that.
Yes, my dad ran Toccoa Speedway in the early 70s.
Put that a little closer to me.
And then also ran Livonia Speedway. He was a promoter of Livonia Speedway in the mid-70s. I did learn how to do the scorekeeping, and I did the scoring then at Livonia and Toccoa, and then later on did the scoring at Livonia and Toccoa for James Meyerholtz when he was the promoter, and then Leonard Payne when he was the promoter at Livonia.
Yeah. Now, you were telling me Anthony Bagwell kind of trained you, and Anthony, of course, he and I worked together at Anderson for years and years and years. Another great guy and somebody that certainly knew what he was doing when it came to doing scoring. There's no question about that.
Yes, he was a good person to learn under.
Yeah, scoring has changed a lot.
Yes.
Nowadays, it's all timed and it's all online. Everybody can watch a race actually online on their phone if they want to, just by looking at the scoring and timing.
Yes, the scorekeeping is kind of outdated now.
Yeah.
With the transponders and the electronic scorekeeping that they do now.
There were a few that were really good at what they did. You were the top of the list. Jerome Humphrey, always a great scorekeeper. Debbie Roberts, another really good scorekeeper that we had. Those were the ones that were primarily in the dirt area. And I was telling you the story about Lois Love. Lois used to do the Lanier and Peach State, and she would do it on an adding machine, which always just seemed like the craziest thing to do, but it seemed to work.
Yes.
So whatever works. But you always took them because you had plenty of sharp pencils lined up. That was your thing, to have plenty of pencils lined up sharp and ready to go at a moment's notice.
Yes.
What was the most difficult? Did you ever get into controversies of scoring? People want to come up and say, so-and-so didn't lead such and such a lap, or this car might have been a lap down. What was the biggest controversy?
Probably time trials, doing stopwatches, doing the time trials. That's probably the biggest controversy. People get two different things.
Yeah.
Somebody down in the pits be doing a time trial, and they'd get something different than what I did.
Well, and of course, that was in those days. You had to click a stopwatch.
Yes, stopwatch.
So that's kind of arbitrary. I mean, where you gotta get a light pole lined up and click it, but you're not gonna. 5 people could line up and nobody get the same 5 times.
Yes, probably the hardest race that I did score was the first Hava Tampa race at Toccoa.
Yeah,
24 late model cars turning the track at 13 seconds.
Yeah.
that got tedious.
That was we're going to talk a little bit more about that race. That was one heck of a race, and so proud to showcase our local track to the Have a Tampa Series and all those great guys.
Yeah, Mickey Swims came up, and he asked me, he said, who's going to help you do the scoring? And I said, it's just me. He said, do you mind if I get you some help? And I said, no, sir, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
So he brought 2 other guys up there. We started the race, had a caution flag. One of the scores, he asked him, he said, how many did you get scored? I think he said 10, top 10.
Yeah.
And he asked the other guy, he said, how many did you get? And he said, I think he said 15.
Wow.
He looked over at my paper and he said, he's got all 24 of them scored. They're lined up, ready to go racing.
How
He
about
put his
that?
arm around me and said, how about going on the road with me and do some scoring for me? No, thank you.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, that's amazing that you're able to do that. I did a lot of work over at Dixie, and they would have somebody in the tower that all they did was holler "leader" every time the leader would come. That somebody would holler "leader" just to keep the eye on the leader, where everybody know whenever the lap was completed and the leader came by.
Yes.
So they had plenty of people lined up to do what you did by yourself.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun at Toccoa. And back in those days, if you remember the old scoring tower at Toccoa, it was kind of tiny. And I remember when Ernie Edge got it with James, built the little deck out there, that meant we had an outside stairwell instead of having to climb up the old 2x4 ladder that was inside.
Yes,
and that took up 3 feet of the floor space.
Yes.
You and me sat on a bus seat, an old bus seat. That was it, just room for 2 of us to sit up there. Now you got 15 people in these towers doing all kinds of things, race directing and scoring and all kind of stuff. Back then it was me and you and Leon.
Yep, me and you and Leon. Yep.
Good times.
Yeah, Leon made it very easy on the scorekeeper.
Yeah.
He was a very good flagman.
And Leon would always tell me, he said, don't ever tell them how many laps to go. He said, you don't know how many laps to go till you see me throw the white flag. So we always looked out for Leon. Leon and I have talked a lot about that. We've kept each other's back for a lot of years doing that kind of thing.
That's right. He could save you on a few things.
He could. We got some great guests tonight. Let's see, who's our first guest coming? Oh, man, somebody you know very well. It's our 35th anniversary. What better than having the driver of the 35, Jimmy Crawford, come up and be our first guest. While he's on the way, let me tell you who sponsors our program. Of course, we're live here at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place on the shores of Lake Hartwell. Also, our sponsors include Jackie Jones. I was up at Jackie Jones today. Not only can they get you plenty of Dodges and Chryslers and Jeeps and Rams and so forth, they can even still get Mustangs and things like that for you. Any Ford that you want, they'll get those out of the Hayesville store and get them down to you, so you can get anything you need at Jackie Jones Chrysler Dodge in Cleveland, Georgia. Mid-South Cage Equipment, Scoot Rice, Jeremy Rice, all the guys at Mid-South Cage and Mid-South Trust, they can take your idea from just an idea in order to build your poultry houses and also equip them with the latest equipment at Mid-South Cage Equipment. Circle Track Performance, Brandon Headen can ship your parts you need. He specializes in metric chassis and metric things for stockades and modified streets. He can get it to you next day. Get all the performance parts you need from Brandon Headen. He is in Vidalia, Georgia. Aquabot of Georgia. Debbie and I don't clean our pool anymore. The Aquabot takes care of it. It's one of the greatest things ever. And I was at Chastain Supply, which is Aquabot of Georgia. I was down there today looking at new models. Do you know that they've got a model now that doesn't even have a cable going to it? It's completely Bluetooth wireless. It comes up, has a docking station, and docks on the side of the pool whenever it runs out of steam and recharges. Coolest thing ever. Check them out at Aquabot of Georgia. Simpson Trucking and Grading. If you need anything moved or hauled, Simpson is the place to go. They can dig out a basement for you with a bobcat, or they can move a mountain like they've done in so many of those areas on the side of 365 going toward Gainesville. And, of course, our raceway sponsors include Toccoa Raceway. Big makeup race coming up Friday night. That's the one from this past Sunday night that was rained out. All the fireworks and everything is ready to go for tomorrow night at Toccoa Raceway, a special Friday night race. Also, Livonia Speedway is going to be running on Saturday night. And, of course, Winder Barrow Speedway is going to be running on Saturday night as well. Remember to tell us where you're viewing from. We always appreciate that, so let us know where you're viewing the show from tonight. And as I mentioned, our first guest, driver I had the privilege of announcing many times in that number 35 car, Jimmy Crawford, is with us. Jimmy, glad to have you on the program. It's good to see you tonight.
Good to be here. I appreciate it. Appreciate that.
you've been involved in racing from a whole lot of different aspects, not only as a driver, but you had racing parts and fuel and promoted some tracks for a while. You've just had a tremendous career in the racing industry.
I have, and I appreciate every one of them. We had a lot of family that raced. We call them our family because we felt like they were family. We enjoyed every moment of it. Great sports.
Well, now, whenever y'all went to the track, there was a whole lot of folks that went with you. It wasn't just your immediate family, but y'all had a lot of fans and a lot of friends. It would be an evening outing whenever y'all showed up at the racetrack.
It was a family, a racing family. In those days, we loved every one of them. We ate together, we raced together, we worked together. So it was a great time for us. We enjoyed it, and we missed the racing. We haven't been able to do it lately, but we miss it.
Yeah, it is a wonderful family. I miss going to the racetrack, not for the racing, but seeing the people. That's what it's all about, is the friendships you make.
You're correct. We miss the people, great people. We sort of grew up with them.
Yeah.
And we miss them when we're not there, but racing's been a big part of my life, and I enjoyed every minute of it.
Well, let's go back to the very beginning. When was your first race, and where was it?
Crawford Speedway, 1964.
And what kind of car were you running at that point?
1955 Chevrolet.
Boy, I'll tell you what, we tore up a bunch of 55 and 56 Chevrolets over the years, didn't we?
We did.
Some of
them was my wife's drivers that were stuck at the racetrack.
That's not good. Well, I tell you, I was mentioning tonight, I bought my first race car from Werner Manus, and it was a 55 Chevrolet, and it was good enough for me to drive home. It was a driver, and I ought to have my fanny kicked 1,000 times for tearing that up and making a race car out of it, but that's what we did during those days. We thought they'd never end. We'd have plenty of 55 Chevrolets around, so they made great race cars, though.
They did. They made a fine race car. We used a lot of 55s and 57s up making race cars.
Yeah.
They were great cars.
So what was the results of your first race? How did you feel when it was done? Did you say, this is for me, or I'm not sure if I'm cut out for this? What was it like?
Well, I loved it. We started out drag racing, and we went to Core one night, and we decided we wanted a dirt car, so that first race was exciting. I wasn't absolutely sure about it, but it was exciting.
So what was your highlight of your racing career, would you say?
My highlight was probably winning the Georgia State Championship in 1996.
And that was at Toccoa or at Livonia or where?
Toccoa Speedway.
Oh, that was at Toccoa. They had a Georgia State Championship.
Yeah.
Okay. In 96.
96.
That's a cool deal. Now let's talk a little bit about your number. How did that come about? 35. Where did it come from?
That was my football number. I was number 35 when I played football.
I got you. You had, of course, Brian raced. Rusty was involved in racing. Your whole family has kind of been in the racing business for a long period of time. Your parts store, I guess you sold more race car parts than you did regular auto parts, didn't you? Or was it?
Well, we did. Race parts was a big part of our business. Racing was a big part of our business. For several years, we worked several of the race tracks, and at one time we furnished the tires when they had a tire rule. So it was a big part of our life, really, racing, selling parts.
Now, I know when we had our championship banquet at 106 Speedway, which was another great little racetrack, we had it at your shop. Did you run at 106? Were you part of the racing team down there at that time?
I was. I furnished parts for
Okay, so you had the parts truck.
Had a parts truck for 106.
Yeah, I tell you what, that was Casey Roberts going to be up with us in a little while. That was a great racetrack. We'd have Casey, we'd have Jack Pennington, we'd have Buck Simmons, we'd have Randy Hemphill. Jonathan Davenport was running like a stock 8 or something at that point in time. But man, the best of the best in dirt track racing ran every Friday night.
Yes, it was a great show. 106 had a great show.
Yeah,
I enjoyed every minute of it.
So now you were at Toccoa starting in '64.
Correct.
Did you run pretty much every year, or was there any time that you took a year off to regroup, or what?
In 1995, I was in the hospital for a while, and I got where I could get out, and we still had a race car. I went to the racetrack, and these boys picked me up, put me in the car, and we won a race at 96 at Anderson Speedway. That was a week before we won the Georgia State Championship.
Yeah.
That was 96 was my last year.
I got you. Now at Anderson, they were already asphalt at that point, right?
Let's see.
Rupert paved in '86. So
it was asphalt.
Yeah, already asphalt at that point.
It was.
So you had an occasion to run dirt cars on asphalt.
Asphalt, correct.
I bet that was fun.
It was fun. It was real exciting. Well, we won the race that night. Mike Love had won several races there, and we run and we won the race that night, and we felt real happy about it. Good competition with Mike and some of those people, and it was a great race for us.
Well, I tell you what, anytime you can outrun Mike Love, you've said something. Mike Love is one of the best in the business, dirt or asphalt.
He was a great competitor.
Yeah, had a little health issue this week. Matter of fact, I'm meeting with him and Debbie Lunsford Love this Tuesday night, and we got some things to discuss. But what a great family that is.
Yes, sir. They were great competitors. We enjoyed every minute racing with those guys.
Yeah, good folks over there. Now, you told me also, and I did not know this till a few minutes ago, you ran the first race at Peach State, and that was a Jeffco. Back when it first started, it was called Jeffco, and it was a kind of an unusual track, much larger than anything we had seen around here. That had to be one heck of an experience.
It was. We ran to Core on Saturday night with our car, and we made arrangements with one of the asphalt guys to have some tires there. So we showed up Sunday morning at Jeffco and bolted the tires on, and was able to run fourth. We was really excited about it. It was a great experience.
Yeah, I bet so. Did you ever go back again, or was that the only one?
No, we run another race or two there.
Yeah, great racetrack.
When they had dirt, it was dirt cars on asphalt.
Yeah, that's always a big draw, having dirt cars on asphalt.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, you had sponsors, obviously, during the years, and, of course, Crawford Auto Parts was the main sponsor, that's for sure. Who else helped you during your racing career?
Well, of course, Car House out of Anderson at one time. We had a Car House car, and then
Master Interiors.
Master Interior, Ricky McFarland.
Mm-hmm. Abrams Construction.
We have Abrams Construction out of Atlanta. Helped us a lot.
Those are. It's always good to have sponsors. I mean, everybody, you got to have money. Money makes racing go, and without it, you're not going to be competitive.
We couldn't have done it without it. We had a lot of help from different people, but it really kept us in racing.
I was announcing at Toccoa one night. This hadn't been maybe 10 years ago. Looked down and I see Jimmy Crawford's van coming into Toccoa, and I thought, hot dang, Jimmy's here, and you had sold it to Scott Collett, and I did not know that was. I assumed you was going to hop out of that car, and it wasn't you at all. It wasn't a big tall guy. It was Scott Collett that stepped out of the truck.
Yeah, I sold it to Scott for his sons.
Yeah, and they're doing well. Good. Headen's won 3 or 4 in a row, so they're doing well again. So that's good to see. Jimmy, anybody you want to thank? I know you got a lot of family that's been involved and a lot of friends.
Well, I want to thank all of our people that bought from us, our customers. They were all of them great to us. We miss them. You know, I just thank the Lord that I was able to do it as long as I did, and that I'm still here.
Well, it's good to see you. Glad you came out tonight. Thank you and Janet for coming out and being part of the program, and we appreciate it so much, and just glad to see you.
Thank you for inviting us. I appreciate it.
Yeah, Jimmy Crawford, ladies and gentlemen, driver of the 35. Boy, the number of times we've mentioned him going around the racetrack, it has been exciting to see, and so glad to have him here with us tonight. On the way up next, Jason Pritchett's coming up. He ain't a racer, but he's coming up here to talk to us in just a minute. And, J&C Auto Care, I was going to say a little 30-second commercial or so about them, but we're going to let Jason do that when he gets up here. So our sponsors include Peach State Auto Parts and Recycling. That is Scott Human. He and his staff down in Cannon, Georgia, can outfit you with any of the cars. They also got recyclables and bins, all of those kind of things. Safety Plus, Wendell and Pat Norton in Cornelia, Georgia on Cannon Bridge Road. All your welding supplies and safety supplies you can get at Safety Plus. Bowling Farm Supply. Let me tell you, if you've not been to Bowling Farm Supply, it's like stepping back in time to that old-timey hardware store that your granddaddy used to take you to. A lot of fun to go down to Bowling Farm Supply. They're located in Baldwin or Homer, depending on where your foot is on the line. It runs right through Bowling Farm Supply, so we're going to call it Baldwin. Also, Antler Creations Taxidermy, Hugh Bryant, he can mount anything. I was down there the other day, and he mounted a full-size bear that somebody had shot. They said it was the most difficult thing because normally when you get a deer, somebody's already got the meat and they've done something with it, and all you get is the deer head. They got the entire bear. They had to scrape all the meat out of it and dispose of the meat. It was a job for them. At Antler Creations Taxidermy. And, of course, our raceway partners, our racetrack partners include Toccoa Raceway running tomorrow night. The makeup race from Memorial Day weekend from Sunday night is going to be run tomorrow night, so make sure to mark your calendars. Livonia will be running on Saturday, and so will Winder Barrow Speedway. Remember to put in the comments where you're viewing from. We like to see that. And here to do our J&C Auto Care commercial is Mr. J. Jason, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Got to have that thing up near your mouth there.
Okay.
All right,
close enough?
So in 30 seconds or less, tell us about J&C Auto Care.
We just local, homegrown folks. We love what we do. Me and Rusty been together 5 years now. We're right here on 106 next to Old Grafton Lumber Company.
Which is Mize Road.
Mize Road, 70
Mize
Mize Road.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And you do good work.
We try.
I've got an engine running out there that
yes,
proves
sir.
it.
Yeah. We appreciate your business, too. And everybody else out here that comes and spreads their love with us. And
We've been voted best auto shop in Toccoa 3 years.
Yeah,
now.
3 years in a row.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I think it's mostly Rusty, not me.
Well, I'll tell you who I think it is.
Well,
I was talking to Kenneth Ledford, and
Yeah.
he's the mechanics teacher at North Georgia Tech,
Yeah.
and he said Clay is probably the most talented engine guy he's ever seen come through his program. So it ain't so much J as it is C.
Well, if I just tell anybody and everybody, if Clayton Smith can't fix it, it ain't fixable. So we fixed a lot of stuff that come from other shops, been there for long periods of time, and and he figured it out. So
Yeah.
we very fortunate to have him, ain't we, Rusty? So
Well, let's talk about your background in racing. You got a lot of family that's raced.
I do, sir. So I don't think they're here tonight, but so Brady Cornett's my cousin.
Yeah, I talked to Brady. They got torn up this past weekend. He said he and George were going to have to work all night long getting the car ready for this weekend. They were planning to be here.
Yeah, I never was around it much growing up. Daddy talked about it a lot, and my papa talked about it a lot. My Uncle Roger, they were all big into it. I've heard Daddy and Uncle Roger tell it too. They blow one up on Saturday night. Monday, they's going to spend $10,000 or $15,000 so they can race next Saturday. So that's
why
my pay grade.
Sponsors are so important.
Yeah, I guess so.
And of course, you sponsor Billy Buffington too. He's another one.
Yes, I've known Billy. So my big brother actually worked with him when Stovall's was still open. So we hang out with them some. So Clay's wife her daddy is very good friends with Billy, so we're kind of tied in with them that way. So
he's one of my best friends in racing. Billy is. And,
okay.
We have enjoyed each other's company for a lot of years. Go to church together, so we spend quite a bit of time together.
We enjoy it when them old timers come through the shop, don't we?
We do.
Yeah.
We forget we're there to work, and we get tied up listening to them telling stories. And
I know it's easy to do.
It is.
That's why my show has gone to 2 hours instead of 1 hour.
Well, when you're having fun, that's all that matters, ain't it?
That's right. Yeah.
So,
I don't know that we'll make it a full 2 hours tonight, but we'll see.
Well, I'm here as long as you want me to be.
Well, listen, we appreciate you being here,
Yes,
and
sir.
thanks for kind of helping us put all this deal
Yes,
together.
sir.
You and Rusty kind of had the idea to do this, or
Well,
I don't know where the idea came from. Actually, we just got to talking one day and said, let's do it.
I was telling my daddy, and there's a couple of people sitting here in the audience with us tonight. Some of us had some other places we could have went, and I told me and this guy was talking. I said, I'm going. I said, it's just kind of funny. Me and you and Rusty was talking at the office one day, and I'm like, hey, Charles, let's do a car show. And Rusty's like, yeah, that'd be fun. Get all these old timers together. And then it was like, well, how about we just do a champ racing show? And you said, well, 35 years, what a better time than then.
Yeah.
So we've been looking forward to it, and we definitely appreciate you letting me and Rusty come out and be with you tonight.
Well, now let's talk about what all y'all furnish, because I found out that you carry things. I had gotten tires somewhere else and found out you got tires. So
yes, sir.
Tell everybody what all y'all do.
We do it all. We do service work, brakes, tires, oil changes. We do heavy work, engines, transmissions.
And old cars.
Yes, sir.
You're spinning your head in old cars.
Love old cars. If I can make a living doing it, that's what we do.
You're like Jackie Jones. He would rather sell an old car any day than a new car.
But that's the way I was raised up, growing up. That's my granddaddy worked on cars. My daddy was front-end man for 20-something years at Toccoa Tire, so I ain't never know no different, But when I started out, they didn't have computers. You know,
Yeah.
when I was 8 years old, they
Yeah.
didn't have computers. So,
You say, what's a set of points? What are these things?
I know
that-
what they are, but I had to have a 70-year-old man tell me how to set them. You know, so that's all that matters.
You know, it's a funny thing that you mentioned this. When I first started announcing with NASCAR, I'd walk down the pits early in the morning before the race, you know, and they'd have these young crew chiefs out there, and they'd be adjusting jets on the carburetors and all these kind of things. And before the race, some old guy in overalls would come out with ash about this long hanging off his cigarette, and he'd whoom, and he'd adjust a little bit, whoom. That didn't matter how the crew chiefs did it. There's some old guy that'd come out there, and he knew if it's right or not.
Yeah. Nowadays we just order Petronics and do away with that, don't
Yeah.
we, Rusty?
Away with it.
we don't want
None of that
points
going
no
on.
more.
I think they adjust it for NASCAR. They adjust it in Charlotte, and it adjusted in the car nowadays.
Right.
But anyway, it's been a good run so far. We appreciate your
Yes,
sponsorship
sir.
of this show. It's like
Yes,
anything
sir.
else.
Yes,
If you
sir.
don't have sponsors, you don't
Well,
get on the radio
I enjoy
either.
it. My daughter loves to hear my name on WNEG on the way to school every morning. So she'll say, "Hey, Daddy, I just heard you on the radio."
How about that? That's cool.
So
I got to change my commercial because I've only got y'all being the number one thing for 2 years. So
yeah,
it's 3 years. now.
we're 3 years, hoping
gotta-
we'll be 4 years.
We got to up that commercial and fix that.
Well, that'd be great too.
When do they do the voting?
I think it was November.
I may
It's in
need
the
to.
fall
I may
time.
need to wait till November and change it, make it 4 years.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and make it 4.
Well, listen, we appreciate it.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for being here.
We thank you, and we thank
thanks
everybody.
for helping make
And-
this a big night here.
Yes, sir. And we thank all our regular customers.
Yeah. All right, Jason Bridget. So on the way up now is Smokey Roberts. Smokey's on the way up. While he's coming up, let's tell you about some of our sponsors. They include Jackie Jones Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Cleveland, Georgia, Simpson Mulch, located right next door to Simpson Grading and Trucking on Candler Road in Gainesville. It's that mulch time. Need to get that down around your plants, and you can get that at Simpson Mulch. Also, Aquabot of Georgia, big sponsor, big thing. We don't clean our pool. The Aquabot takes care of it. Best pool cleaning system we have ever seen. And Napa Auto Parts. They got locations in Toccoa. You're at Napa every once in a while, aren't you? Yeah. Napa Auto Parts in Toccoa. They got like 13 locations in North Georgia and in Western South Carolina for all of your needs. That Napa know-how. You can get it at Napa Auto Parts in Toccoa. And also our racetrack sponsors, Toccoa Raceway, big race tomorrow night, replacing the race that got rained out on Memorial Day weekend. And, of course, Livonia and Winder in action on Saturday night. Let us know where you're viewing from. Did you get your know-how from Napa? Is that where you got it?
Yeah, parts.
Well, you got some know-how from George Fireball Roberts.
Yeah,
I tell you what, he was something else. He drugged me to every racetrack in the country back in the day, and he was not only a big local race fan because he raced the first race at Toccoa, he was a big NASCAR fan too.
Yeah, he knows a lot of people.
And a lot of people knew him. And when I was go to places, they'd say, "You ever know a man by the name of George Fireball Roberts?" And I'd say, "Good Lord, do I know Fireball Roberts?" And I would tell them the story. So everybody always asked me when they found out I was from Toccoa, that was the first thing they'd ask. Did I know George Roberts?
Yep. Yeah, he was good. He went back when he first started there. He went to a bunch of them there. He liked.
Yeah. And he would call in when I was at the radio station. He'd call in from Rockingham or wherever and give us a report of what was going on.
See who was on the pole and how they qualified and everything.
Yeah, he was always good at that.
Yep, sure was.
Somebody sent me a message. I've forgotten exactly who it was, and they told me that you had blown an engine the night before and put a new engine in it and came to Toccoa and didn't even make it through the gate, unloaded the car, had to start in the rear of the field. I guess this was the Ryder car, 99. And wound up winning the race. And they said, ask Smokey if he remembers that. I got just the general facts. Tell me about that.
Yeah, it was an old Chevelle there.
That was Chevelle. Okay.
Chevelle, yeah. We ran a little late there, and it just went by where you pay at. We just went on past them and unloaded on the front straightaway. Just fixed to start the race. Well, we turned in down there at the road there, and I heard them throw the green, and I heard the caution stop. I heard everything got quiet. I said, we still got to change this. So we unloaded on the front straightaway. And
Put that close to your mouth.
started in the rear there, and looked up one.
Looked up, yeah. I always like it when drivers say they looked up. Generally, it ain't luck. It's there's some talent somewhere buried in there.
It was a good old days then. It was good, but I enjoyed it.
Talking about good old days, man, you won a ton of races. I mean, the 99 was always out front, seemed like.
Yeah, we had some good years. That sure did. At Westminster and Livonia and Toccoa and Hartwell. And we had some good years back in the 80s. And
Well, then you came back in the early 2000s or 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Won a track championship at Hartwell and driving for Lewis LeCount and them and Johnny Ryder and just did a great job. Still winning races like crazy.
We stayed off about 20 years and come back and won championship at Toccoa and Hartwell.
Yeah.
Just rested up, wasn't you?
Yeah.
I know you went through a health scare, and I was announcing at Hartwell. This is 10 years ago maybe. I was announcing at Hartwell, and you were in the hospital room, and we had special prayer for you. And I remember we either Facebooked it or videotaped it or something, so you could see us having that special prayer for you when you were in the hospital
appreciate that. That goes a long way. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that was a special night, and I've prayed, done the invocation at a lot of racetracks, and that was a very difficult one for me to do, knowing that you were watching, and it was a very special time and very heartfelt on my end that God would help heal you, and He did.
I appreciate that. It means a lot there. It was a triple bypass, and I just went down to get a stent put in, but it didn't work out that way. But good Lord got us through it there. We glad to get through it.
Well, it was 20 years you took a break. You've taken another 7 or 8 year break. Any chance you coming back again?
I don't know. Don't know about that. Yeah, I still. One end says I can, and the other end says I can't. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know about that. I know a little bit about that. All those years, who were some of the guys that you found the toughest to beat on the racetrack? Who was your toughest competitors?
Oh, had several of them. That was in that class I run. Billy Buffington, he was always run pretty good, and then we run the late models sometime. Johnny Thomas from up the mountains, he'd come. He was T4. He was tough, and I drove for.
By the way, Johnny has just been nominated for the Georgia Racing Hall of Fame. That just came out today. That he's one of the new, not inductees yet, but people to vote on for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he was always tough when he'd come down here. He seemed to be tough. Right?
Jackie Jones called me and he said, "I want you to vote for Johnny Thomas." I said, "Yes, sir. Whatever you say." So I'm gonna try to do that.
I got a story about Johnny Thomas.
What's that?
And Smokey.
All right, let's tell it.
They were racing at Toccoa Speedway. Johnny led the whole race. Smokey run right on his bumper the whole time. Went into turn 1 and 2. Smokey helped him out a little bit and spun him out. Smokey won the race. He drove for Jim Ryder at the time. They got paid. I think they got paid $700 was the pay for him winning that night. Well, Jim walked over to Johnny and said, "What's it going to take for us to be friends again?" And Johnny said, $700. That's what y'all cost me. And Jim said, "We was never that good of friends." And turned around and walked on.
Now, did you know all that was going on?
Yeah, I know. Jim had told me I run behind him, Johnny, about 3 weeks in a row, run second. And he said, "Don't run behind him tonight. So if you can't put it up front, I'll put somebody in there that can."
Oh, golly.
I done it done it the wrong way, but I got up front.
Got the job done.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about some of the guys you ran against. Obviously, I mean, some of the biggest names in late model racing you got a chance to run against at times. What's one of those races that you wish you had back, that for some reason you led the whole race and then something happened right there at the end?
Several of them I'd pay like $1,000 just a street car, and 100 lapper, they'd have a special thing. And then several of them like lap 97 and flat tire, and then another one like 13 laps to go, lead it all day and then lose it right at the end. But that was $1,000, but that was a lot of money back in the 80s and stuff.
Yeah, shoot, yeah. We're going to talk to Casey about that flat tire thing coming up here in a little while, too. There's both sides of that's happened to Casey. But now, here's a memory I have. I think it was 73. You were probably about 12 years old. I think I was 18 or 19. And I decided I was going to have a race car, so I bought it from Dennis Breedlove, $75. Drove it to Toccoa, and we were racing that night. And back then, our driving suit was a T-shirt and jeans. I mean, there wasn't no such thing as a driving suit. And so you had spun out in turn 3 at Toccoa, and they never did throw a caution. And I came by you 2 or 3 times, and you were standing between the firewall and the roof with your T-shirt off, trying to beat out an oil fire. Didn't have a hood on there, and they never did throw the caution. Never did. I don't know if you ever got it put out or not.
I don't remember. Yeah, that sounds about right. We had some times.
Good times back in those days. I think Howard Mize was flagging. I don't think he could see over somebody had parked. I don't think he could see you.
Yep, I remember. Howard, I remember when James Meyerholtz cut hired out and he fell out on the track, and I went behind him and took the flag stand down.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Leon Lathan hit the flag stand, tore it down. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, Leon. Yep. Remember that? Nobody turned the caution lights on. There wasn't nobody in the
Well, back in those days, the lights were like Christmas tree lights. They ran all the way across the front and the back straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool to see all those lights. Matter of fact, we had a throwback race at Toccoa several years back, and we all wore old vintage racing stuff, and I told Mike Davidson, I said, you ought to string green and red lights across the back and the front straightaway. I said, that'd be cool to remind everybody what it looked like back in those days.
Yep, sure would.
They didn't have those stop lights like they have nowadays.
Yep. Yes.
So what changed? When you started racing, how many changes did you see in things? Obviously, back in those days, we'd order stuff from J.C. Whitney or we'd make it ourselves.
Yeah,
there wasn't no
that's
speed shops and there wasn't racing parts or anything like that.
Yeah,
so all of a sudden you saw where you could actually get real racing stuff to put in cars.
Yeah, we'd go to a lot of times, J. Bird Ramey or something, go to his old junkyard and take A-frames off and put them on there. And then later on it got to where you got the store-bought stuff. Everything was tubular A-frames and stuff. Everything had to cost more there then, but it's done sure enough got that way nowadays. But yeah, to start with, we just go to the junkyard and get us old A-frame or a tie rod in, drag link, put on there, and ready to go there.
Well, I was announcing a race probably 5 years ago, and this guy walked up to me and he said, I want to introduce myself to you. I'm Jim Ryder. And I had no idea. We had talked all those years. He's still around?
No, he passed away.
Well, how long ago did he die? Because obviously it was before that when I was talking to him, but I don't remember if it was 5 years ago or maybe 7 years ago.
It probably been, I can't remember exactly how long. It's been a while.
Has it? Okay. Yeah, and I had never actually met Jim or talked to him, or it's been years since I had, and so we had a chance to sit there and talk a little bit that night. But he was a great car owner for you.
Yeah, sure was. He was good, and sure was. And I enjoyed racing with him there. We won first, and we'd won at Anderson, I think, over there. And I heard Jimmy talking about it a while ago, Mike Love, and Jimmy was running over there. And first late model race.
I was over there one night with Bobby Ray Honey, and Bobby Ray was running a 66 Ford, and the universal joint on the front end came down. Well, he didn't have a U-bar holding it up, and it was like a pole vault. Pole vaulted him right over the back straightaway down in those pine trees down there at Anderson.
How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
So I think they started a rule in, you got to have something to protect that.
Something to hold it up.
Something to hold that drive shaft up there. Yeah. And all safety features come by something happening bad.
Right.
Yeah. That's the only way safety features ever happen. Nobody's going to ever say, I'm going to spend a bunch of money to make my car safer unless there's been a problem.
Yep, that's right.
So what was the worst thing you ever got involved in? Worst wreck or anything? Where was that at?
Lanier, I guess. It's right where you come in the pits in the infield. The wall stuck out further, and they was running to the inside, and I went the outside was open. I started running on the outside, looking over at them, and I looked up and wasn't nothing there but that cement wall.
Oh, man.
Pulled the left scabs where the harnesses was.
Oh, golly. So where'd you hit? Front? You hit head on?
Hit that cement head on. I just looked up and there wasn't nothing there, and it knocked me back out, and the duster hit me and spun me round and round. But I sat there and I said, I know I've had a bad wreck, and then nobody never did come. And finally they come and they said, they had a bad wreck down in the first, second turn. I said, goodness, I thought I was in a bad one.
Must have sure enough been bad, whatever they had going on down there. Man, it's funny thing. I was at Lanier one night, and we had a guy that was driving the pace truck. And we were running Legends cars. Well, I don't know if the guy in the pace truck was, I think he might have had a little to drink. I don't know. But anyway, he wasn't quite in his right mind. But anyway, the guy's helmet came off. And he's on the radio. His head came off. His head. And it wasn't. It's just his helmet came off. But boy, he was scared to death. The guy's head had come off in that crash. But anyway, it's funny some of the things you hear in the tower, isn't it? Whenever. So now you had folks that helped you along the way. Of course, your daddy was real big in getting you involved in racing to start with. Fireball was something else. He was one of the biggest racing promoters that I know of. Who else helped you along?
Casey, when he got on up a little older, he helped me. Terry Sellers, and he'd help me. And
by the way, speaking of that, pardon me just a minute. We want to send our sympathy out to Steve Sellers, the family. Steve passed away, and kind of unexpectedly, Ethan sent me a message and said his dad had died, and we'd see them at the track on a regular basis, and just wasn't expecting that at all. So I want to send our sympathy out to the Sellers family.
Yeah, Terry, Steve's daddy, he'd helped me for several years there. We had pretty good relationship there. He'd set them up. I'd just build the motors and stuff, but I wasn't much on setting them up, and he'd set them up for me.
Yeah.
We done pretty fair for a few years, and sure did. I enjoyed it.
Well, you still working on engines, and I think the last thing you did for me is fix air conditioner in a pickup. So you're still doing that kind of stuff.
Still doing a few engines, yeah. I
remember one day I came over with a old Carter carburetor, and you said, let's go to the carburetor house. And I thought, well, that's an odd name. Man, when you opened the door, I couldn't believe it. It was a whole house full of carburetors. I never seen so many carbs in my life.
Yeah, this thing's about a thing of the past nowadays. There's still a few of them around.
Oh, golly, it was quite. You still got it? You still got a carburetor house?
Yeah, I got it. Well, it's a bus now, school bus. I got it with a bus.
Downside.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I tell you what, it's been good catching up. We appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming out on a special night like this. It's good to see you.
Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it. Smokey Roberts, ladies and gentlemen, a legend in racing around this area for sure. Coming up next, J.R. Headen's on the way up. While J.R.'s up, let me tell you a little bit about some of our sponsors. They include, of course, we're at Moogie's Mill Creek Gathering Place here on the shores of Lake Hartwell. Gus Simpson Trucking, they're an arm of Simpson Trucking and Grading. Gus can bring you anything you need. Sand, gravel, fill dirt, mulch, you name it. Gus can get it to you at Gus Simpson Trucking. The Addison Agency, Bonda and Darrell and Marianne and Colby, they're our agents, and we'd like for them to be your insurance agents as well. They're auto owners insurance agents, and they're here in Toccoa, and they can take care of you at the Addison Agency. Napa Auto Parts on Currahee Street in Toccoa, 13 locations throughout North Georgia and the Western Carolinas at Napa Auto Parts. Clayton Homes is located at the entrance of Stevens County High School, and they can set you up in a new home. And I tell you what, with the evaluations that just came out from our tax assessor's office, I think a lot of us might be looking at some Clayton Homes. They're right there at the corner of White Pines and Big A Road or 17 Extension alternate, right there at the entrance to Stevens County High School at Clayton Homes. Racetrack sponsors include Toccoa Raceway, racing tomorrow night. Remember that, tomorrow night, the big fireworks display, all the special stuff going on tomorrow night, as well as Saturday night, Livonia and Winderbarrow Speedway. Let us know where you're viewing from. We appreciate it. One of the legends in local racing is joining us right now. It's J.R. Headen. J.R., good to have you.
Good afternoon.
All right, now pull that thing up a little closer to you right there. There we go.
I think I had my big foot.
Yeah, you're stepping on it. You're supposed to step on the gas pedal, not on the microphone cable.
Been a while since I stepped on the gas.
Yeah. Well, you started racing, drag racing.
Yeah, that's what I did.
13 Forks. So tell us about that.
That was a dirt track to start with, and later on they paved it.
Ah.
And when they paved it, I threw the flywheel off of my car, and it come up through the floorboard. And the flagman out there said pieces past him for 30 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
I thought it cut my foot off, but it didn't hurt it.
Wow, that's a memorable start to a...
Yeah, that was a bad time there.
Man.
But that was in a 55 Chevrolet.
That must have been, Smokey, that must have been the wreck that happened in turn one down there that was worse than yours.
We tore up a bunch of cars, good cars.
I bet so.
Races out there.
Yeah.
Like Smokey told you. We put bed steers in them for roll bars.
Oh, that ain't good.
If you went home and didn't have no bed, somebody stole your bed. But I put several of them in for the boys.
Oh, really?
We didn't think about getting hurt.
I know. Wanted that lightweight. So how did you get to dirt tracks?
Well, I built a car. Yeah, I think it was a 56. For these two boys, Johnny and Roger Dean, good friends of mine. Back then, we were young people then.
Yeah, weren't we all at some point?
Anyhow, I built them an engine, put roll bars in the old car for them, such as they was. They was going to race. So I never went to one. So anyhow, they talked me into going. They said, you got to be with us and tune the motor, they said. So one of them got in, warmed it up. He wouldn't get back in. The other one said, I ain't driving it. So I said, well, what you gonna do? They said, we'll load that thing up and go home and cut it up tomorrow. So anyhow, they talked me into driving it that night. I said, I'll tear it all to pieces. They said, well, we're going to tear it up anyway. So we got out there, and luck to have it, I won the race.
Wow.
And from that on, you know what happened.
Yeah. Boy, plenty of championships and lots of races that you ran. I think. What's your question?
How many years have you been
Yeah,
racing?
I had my part of them, and we really enjoyed it.
So how many years racing did you have?
Well, I'm not sure, but it's anywhere from 50 to 65 races. I'd have to go back and figure out where the first card I run there. I don't know what year that was. But he bought a 67 a couple of 3 years after that. So it's somewhere along in the 60s.
Yeah,
that
wow.
I started. But I built a lot of motors for the boys and helped them with them.
And you raced up until 2 years ago?
It's been nearly 4 now.
It's been
3 or
4 years?
4.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I had a problem with my heart. They called it getting out of rhythm. I said it got out of time.
Uh-oh. Can you replace that timing chain in that thing?
Broke it down. They gave me shock treatment. But anyhow, it's still, I'm not no good at doing that. I work a little, and I'm just every once in a while.
Well, we appreciate you coming tonight, and Pat bringing you out here. It's good to see you.
I told him, I said, we'll go stay as long as we can and do what we can.
Well, I tell you what, it's not the same at Toccoa looking down there in that first turn and not seeing your trailer sitting down there. It's not the same.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this, and he's probably still over there, Smokey. He built him a car. He come out there, he couldn't keep it on the track. And I was pretty good back in. He said, would you drive that thing and tell me what's wrong with it? I said, I'll tear it up. He said, I'm going to tear it up. Anyhow, I hops over in that thing, and guess what I was standing on when I stood up in there?
What?
The bell housing of the transmission.
Oh, goodness.
He didn't know how no floorboard in that
Oh, my
car.
word.
You held your foot on the foot feed. I got out and told him, you put your floorboard in that thing, and then you can drive it.
Wow, goodness. I have to tell this JR story. I had a boat, and people don't know that you're a great boat mechanic. And did work for Schaefer Shed for years, and so I had a bass boat, so I carried it down to JR, and I said, this thing's galled in pistons. I can't keep it from doing that. JR said, let me work on it. So I went down there 2 or 3 months later, and he said, I think I got you fixed up. I took it out to the lake, I showered down on it, and the front end came up with me, and I said, what in the world? He said, I had a few parts laying around. I fixed it up for you. I had a super late model engine in that dadgum bass boat. I mean, it was unreal.
Yeah, he gave it enough just to bring it up a little. He would know it doesn't go on.
Yeah, wow. That was an eye-opener for sure. Well, JR, you have meant so much to so many people. I had so many comments that said they couldn't wait for you to be on the show. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you, Charles.
And hope your health gets better, man. It's good to see you.
Maybe we will.
Yeah, absolutely. J.R. Headen, ladies and gentlemen. So glad to have J.R. here with us tonight. James Meyerholtz is on the way up. While he's coming, let me tell you about some of our sponsors. They include Jackie Jones, Chrysler Dodge in Cleveland, Georgia, Mid-South Cage Equipment in Royston, Circle Track Performance out of Vidalia, Georgia, Aquabot of Georgia, Simpson Trucking and Grading, and J&C Auto Care, and also our racetrack sponsors, Toccoa Raceway, Livonia Speedway, and Windermere. Toccoa's got that big race tomorrow night to make up for what happened on Sunday when the rain got them. So Toccoa's going to be racing tomorrow night. Here's a guy that knows something about Toccoa Speedway, back whenever it was called Toccoa Speedway, James Meyerholtz. And first person I ever really worked for on a regular basis as an announcer. I had done some stuff back in the 70s and early 80s, but all of a sudden got a knock on the door one day, and on my shop, I was out at the shop, Roy Deal stopped by, and he said, James has opened the track up, wanted to know, would you come announce tonight? And boy, that started something big for me. It was just an eye-opener to get started there, and I appreciate you getting me back involved in the sport once again.
John, we appreciate you coming out and announcing for us that night and all the nights as you did.
Yeah, that was fun times, man. We had a lot of fun back then.
We did.
And for what you took that track over, it had kind of fallen on some hard times. You took it over, did a ton of work on that place, and we had, man, everybody pitched in. Everybody came out. I remember I was down at the road painting the old Coca-Cola sign.
Yeah.
People were just helping like crazy to get it going because we were excited about it. And then to lure a Have a Tampa race, that's probably the big feather in your cap right there, is bringing Have a Tampa to Toccoa.
That was the biggest thing. I tell you what, we didn't have enough coolers or stuff like that in the stands and concession stand to keep everything, so Milton Food bought their truck and kept all the food in it. Coca-Cola brought the truck, ice and all that. I'm sitting outside the gate there.
Yeah. Well, Jimmy Mosteller, he was kind of one of the creators of Have a Tampa series. He told me, he said, we got one of the best receptions at Toccoa we ever had at any racetrack because it was such a special deal for Toccoa till we kind of put on the dog for everybody.
There you go.
And for Mosteller and that crowd to say that was pretty special.
Yeah, Jimmy, he was a nice guy.
Nice guy, yeah.
You couldn't find nobody.
Yeah, and he was the very first announcer at Toccoa.
Yeah, that's what he told me.
Yeah, when I was just a little kid, and he introduced himself to me one night when I was in the stands, and I thought someday I'd like to be what he does. And I mean, I was probably 4 or 5 years old, and I had a desire to do it way back then.
Yeah, I remember me and you went to Atlanta and talked to him out there.
Yeah, we went out there, and that's when you signed the lease for the Have a Tampa deal, and that was a big thing. Went over to Dixie Speedway, and that's where their offices were. And sat down with Jimmy and Mike and Mickey and did the whole deal there.
Yeah, it was a big thing then. You know?
Yeah.
But he told me, he said, I've been here before, and I'd like to come back.
Yeah.
Yep,
he was the very first announcer for Garland Sheriff.
Yeah.
And of course, he was well known nationwide. I mean, Mosteller was matter of fact, we got a whole wing in the Hall of Fame named after him, the Jimmy Mosteller wing.
I know that.
For announcers and sports writers and people in the media. There's a whole wing at the Hall of Fame dedicated to Jimmy Mosteller.
Well, he's the one that started Have a Tampa to start with, wasn't he?
Yeah, he worked for Have a Tampa, and he and Mike Swims got together and did the rules, and then later B.J. Parker, with Southern All-Stars, B.J. got involved, and they started sanctioning all of the Have a Tampa races through Southern All-Stars.
Right.
Yeah. But it was a good thing, and then, of course, Mike had brain cancer and passed away. It's been 25 years
I remember
or so
that.
ago
I
now.
hated that.
Yeah, but
they was good folks, him and Mickey.
Yeah, and you may not know this, but I became great friends with them, and I started building furniture for them. So every time that their grandkids, Mickey and Martha, every time they had a grandkid, especially a girl, I would build a special curio that would house their Gone with the Wind dolls, their Scarlett O'Hara dolls, and I'd take it to Atlanta to them. So I got furniture in all the Swims houses. I was their furniture maker.
Yeah, they were good folks.
Yeah, good people.
Yeah.
And Mickey, and Mike's wife, Deborah, and Mia Swims, their daughter, Marshall Green's wife, they all run Dixie, and all their kids still run Dixie.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good people. Did you ever have any, I mean, I know you said that story about Mickey coming up to you at Toccoa about scoring, but did you ever have any relationship with them other than that?
Not anything other than that.
They tried to get Leon to be a flagman, too. They wanted Leon to flag for them. They were very impressed with the Toccoa staff.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of folks there that night.
That was the biggest crowd I've seen at Toccoa.
I know it. Biggest crowd I've ever seen.
I know one man told me, he said, I walked from over there next to the school. He said, you should have had a shuttle bus.
Yeah.
I said, I didn't know there were going to be that many people.
I know it.
But you couldn't walk. There were so many folks there that night.
Yeah.
I know they called me up in a booth. I couldn't hardly get up there, so many folks.
Yeah. It was a matter of fact, Mosteller and I, that was whenever we had the tin roof on top of the announcer booth.
Yeah.
And Mosteller and I got styrofoam and nailed styrofoam up there that night to give us a little bit of cushion so it wouldn't be so hot up in the announcers and scoring booth.
Yeah, the building was small.
Yeah.
Sure was. But I've enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah. Fun times.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to your racing career. When did you start racing?
Child, I think I started about 1970.
70, okay.
I went to Livonia. This man had an old 54 Ford, had, like J.R. talking about, had a bed rail in it.
Yeah.
And I think I paid $50 for it. Had an old 6-cylinder in it.
Yeah.
I pulled it home with a chain and run it that night. Run up that bank and turned it over.
Oh, no.
You know, Honker used to have when you come in the pits.
Yeah.
Run up that thing and turned it over.
Well, did it withstand the turnover with that bed rail in it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. But I've enjoyed all my racing all my years.
Well, you ran number 27. Where did that number come from?
I think I was 27 back when I started that number. Or either the guy that helped me, one of us was 27, how we got that number started.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
and then Jamie carried that 27 through.
Yeah,
He continued
yeah,
to race
he did.
some. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I first brought that little car to the car, Rusty was scoring up there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Huh. So that was the Ford. Now, when did you get into the late model stuff?
Let's see. We bought a car from C.L. Pritchett when we started it. That was about probably 74, somewhere around there. Then
74, okay.
We run that car for a pretty while.
So, yeah, so you didn't stay in the jalopy or cadet or whatever we called it back in those days. I guess cadet's what they called it back in the early days.
A and B, man. A and B limited.
Limited, yeah.
You know.
And now, you and I, we get together and we'd take off on a Sunday. We'd go to Rome or we'd go to Dixie or we'd go somewhere. We spent a lot of time going to racetrack together.
We sure did, and that was fun.
Yeah, sometimes we'd drive that old van, and you didn't think it was going to make it, but it made it there and back somehow or another.
We got there and back anyway.
Well, we sure learned a lot, didn't we?
You got that right.
Yeah, we learned a lot, got to see a lot of people, got to meet a lot of people, and I think that was important to meet as many people as we did.
I do too, and like I say, I appreciate everybody helped me when I first started running the racetrack. I had a lot of help because a lot of people said I'd like to see it open back up and going again. And you had me out there on the radio show.
Yeah. Yep, that's a lot of folks we've had an opportunity to have over this 35 years. It's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, it's going to continue on. I hadn't had anybody tell me it's going to quit yet. So
there you go.
We're still going.
Wide open, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
So now, what you got going on now?
Well, nothing a whole lot. I don't do a whole lot of anything. I can get out a lot of it. My wife's got the flower shop. We do the monument shop.
Yeah.
So just kind of pill around. Just something killed day.
I got you. No signs of doing anything racing-wise, huh?
No, I can't hold out no more. I got that COPD, and it just won't let me do much.
I'm sure that's not going to be a situation then.
Yeah.
What was your favorite race that you remember?
I guess it's when I went to Lanier out there, and we took that little old car that you talking about.
Yeah.
We went out there and won the race. Done been out there a time or two, and Bud sent word down there, said, don't bring this little car back to run this. I think it would be cadet back then. He said, if you come back, you're going to run A.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, we blowed up, won the race, going to get protested, and we still wasn't legal. But they didn't protest because we blowed the engine.
Oh. Oh, well. That's a good way to keep them getting protested.
There you go.
Oh, Bud used to tickle me. He would go down and look at somebody's car, and he'd say, you're illegal. And they'd say, you hadn't even checked anything. He said, I know you couldn't run like that if you was legal. You're illegal. And he'd throw them out.
That's the way he done us. He sent word down there, y'all don't bring that car back to run this place.
I tell you what, we've all, over the years, I've heard drivers complain about Bud Lunsford, but now you go back and they say he was one of the best promoters ever.
He was. He was good.
He was a good guy, and you always knew where you stood with him.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or bad, you knew where you stood with Bud.
Yeah, he was straight up.
Yeah. He was, when I was at Toccoa as a little kid, I remember him coming through. Somebody had a family tragedy or something, and all the drivers, you know how they bring the helmets up and take up money?
Yeah.
And he came by, and I remember Daddy telling me, that guy is the driver of that gold car.
Always go.
I didn't know numbers. I was so little I didn't know numbers. I just knew he was the gold car.
Yeah.
And he shook my hand, and I thought, for a driver that I admired to shake my hand when I was 3 or 4 years old, that just meant something to me.
Yeah.
And to get to work for him for 8 or 10 years like
Yeah,
I did
I
at
remember
Lanier,
when you worked
that
for
was
him out there.
working for your idol. That's pretty special. So I just couldn't. I hated to leave you, but I couldn't
Oh,
turn that
well,
down.
I know that. I don't blame you for that. I don't blame you, but I enjoyed the years you announced for me.
Well, it was a lot of fun. I sure
Yeah,
learned a lot.
Rusty scoring.
Yeah, we had
we'd
some
race
good
on
times.
Saturday and go play golf on Sunday.
Yeah, me and Rusty's played one time on Sunday. It was so cold the ground was froze.
Well, that ain't good. You can always see where your ball goes when it's frosty like that.
At least you could drive it a long ways.
Yeah. When I was playing golf, I thought, I'm going to buy yellow balls. That way when they go in the woods, I can see them.
Yeah.
I was amazed how many yellow flowers there are in the woods. Every time I'd look, and I saw, well, I'm going to switch to orange ball. Well, then orange flowers showed up everywhere in the woods. I never could find my ball.
I know. Yeah, it's
I
something.
started at Toccoa one day. I carried a dozen balls. I started out with a dozen balls. Time I got to 8, I was already fishing balls out of the lake to finish my dadgum round.
It's easy to do.
Yeah. So I am not going to be in the Golf Hall of Fame, put it that way.
Yeah, I heard that. Me either.
You still play?
Every once in a while,
you?
me and Mark plays.
Yeah. Well, James, the Habitampa thing was just huge at Toccoa.
Yeah.
You kind of brought Toccoa back onto the map again, and it's been we've had some down years, but mostly crowds still show up. It's still a great place. I still hear your name mentioned a lot at the racetrack, and you meant a lot to the world of racing in this area. That's for sure.
I tried to, when I went to race it, I wanted to try to make it where everybody come could enjoy themselves.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you did a good job.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I appreciate what you did for me. Thanks for
Well,
hiring
I appreciate
me.
you
All
for
right.
helping me and Rusty.
Good deal. James,
All
we
right.
appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
All right, thank
Good
you,
to see you.
Charles.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen you in 10 years.
I know it's been a long time. I hope
Golly.
it won't be no another 10.
I know it. James Meyerholtz, ladies and gentlemen. I think Tony Russell's on his way up. Tony's coming up to talk to us. Yeah, he's shaking his head. No, get up here. Is that Bubba over there? Bubba, did you make it? Good deal, man. Good to see you. Bubba's going to come co-host with me one night. We're going to do that at the radio station, all right? All right. I didn't see Bubba sneak in. He did. Well, let's talk about Mid-South Cage Equipment down in Royston. Man, Scoot Rice and them, they're big promoters of racing. They help everybody with their racing stuff, and so good to have them on. And, of course, Jackie Jones, another one of our big sponsors. And JR's Bar and Grill here in Toccoa. Let's talk about NASCAR for just a moment, because the NASCAR moment is brought to you by JR's Junior's Bar and Grill. Junior's Bar and Grill on Big A Road. They've got buy one, get one free wings. On Wednesday, it's Wing Wednesday. On Thursday, it's half-price oysters. And they've got Low Country boiled 7 days a week at Junior's Bar and Grill. And our NASCAR moment, of course, this past weekend, it was Ross Chastain busting the watermelon after the Coke 600 or the World 600 at Charlotte. He got the win there. Congratulations to him. NASCAR heads to Nashville, to the Nashville Superspeedway this coming Sunday afternoon for the big race there. Tony Russell is with us right now. He's another one of those 30 drivers. 32 was your number for all those years, and you have passed that along to the Hog Rocket, who is with us tonight. Did you ever have a cool name like Hog Rocket?
No, I'm unfortunate I didn't.
Well, see, now you need a cool name to go with that 32 car. We've been so used to that.
I probably had some names back in the day, but I don't want to mention them.
They wasn't names you came up with, right?
No, other people come up with them.
All right, let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. Go ahead and tell your story about me in the chair. Let's just get it out of the way right now before we get started any further.
You never will forget that, will you?
No, I won't forget, and I know you won't forget it, because I've heard people tell me, Tony Russell told me about you falling over at his shop, so get it out of the way.
You did. Charles come over to the house, we were having a conversation. I turned around, he done fell plumb out of the chair. Turned over.
Well, there was a hump in the floor, and it was an office chair, and I was backing up, and the thing hung, and in the floor I went.
Yeah, the concrete.
Did I tell you I had a concussion? I got a doctor's bill coming to you for that.
I hear you. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, you would. All right, let's talk a little bit about your racing. When did you start?
Oh, Lord. Too long ago.
It's been a while, hasn't it?
75.
75. And what were you running in 75? Was
I-
Chevelle or 55 or what?
Chevy 2.
Chevy 2.
Like cadet class.
Yeah.
That's what they called it back
64 or so? What
then.
year?
64. What we done back then, take 55 frames and put
Right.
bodies on them, you know.
Yeah. I tell you what, that revolutionized things when they started putting Pinto and Corvair bodies and Chevy 2 bodies on 55, 56, 57 frames. That kind of changed the look of racing in our area.
Yeah.
No longer did you have the big stocky looking cars. You had
That's
something
right.
kind of cool, looked like it was on the road, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I cut up several good Chevy 2s.
Yeah.
I wish I had them now.
Yeah, guys like Mike Head kind of made the Corvair famous. Charles Barrett and the Pinto. He had that silver Pinto, the number 11 car. Just a lot of those guys that you kind of iconic. You remember them.
That's
and
right.
of course Doug Kinnemer, man, that Camaro he had, that blue Camaro. I just stand down in the pits right there where JR parked on that little hump there with that, and it, literally I'd salivate every time Doug Kinnemer's blue Camaro would come by. That was the prettiest car I think I'd ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was different back then. Things has changed a whole lot from now 10 years ago, you know.
Yeah.
And then further back, it's unreal how it's changed.
So does it change now every 6 months? Or I mean, who comes up with something new that's revolutionary? You know, Longhorn came up with a whole new front end design. Benji's kind of doing that same thing down at Train Chassis. When does something revolutionary come about? Is it now more often than it used to be?
I think so, especially with shocks and stuff like that. People get something and they run pretty good with it, and then everybody's got to have it, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, things change all the time, but it's expensive too now.
Yeah. Well, very expensive. There's no question about that.
That's right.
And I think Hot Rod Lamance and I were talking one night, and they were spending, $12,000-$14,000 on shocks, and nowadays I'm sure that's not even that was a long time ago. I'm sure that's not even close to what people are spending on shocks nowadays.
It's outrageous.
Yeah. So let's talk about your racing career. When did you run your last race? What year was that?
Full time or just
last race period?
I run a race at Harris Speedway about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, sure enough.
Yeah, we had 2 cars. We went to a race at Carolina Speedway on Friday night, Cherokee on Saturday night, and Harris on Sunday night.
Yeah.
So we had 2 cars, and the car count was a little low, so Bubba and them unloaded the car, and I got in it.
How about that? I didn't know that.
Qualified 3rd and run 4th, still got my winnings.
How about that? I did not know that.
I'm going to keep it.
Well, I kind of figured that maybe whenever Bubba started running, you kind of phased out at that point.
I did. Yeah, I run a little bit after that, after he started, but no. Actually, me and him run a race together, but just every now and then. I wouldn't have got into that day if they hadn't kind of insisted, you know.
Yeah.
Then I kind of wanted to make them look bad after that.
So what was the highlight of your racing career? What's the best race or series of races that you had where maybe for a 4 or 5 week stretch you were unbeatable or something like that? What was the highlight?
I don't know. One year we went, I guess the best year was like 84, 85 maybe. We run 62 races that year and won 40.
Wow. That's phenomenal.
But I heard Jimmy say something a while ago that brought back memories too. He's talking about Jefferson.
Yeah.
I went up there and run a dirt car. I won the first race I ever run up there.
Oh, sure enough.
Yeah, and then went back next week and wrecked.
Oh, yeah. You can tear some stuff up at Peach Shake.
Oh, you fast.
Or Jeffco.
With a dirt car, there ain't place for it, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a little too fast for that.
Mm-hmm.
But how does the car handle on asphalt compared to dirt? When you've got a dirt car and a setup for dirt, is it just don't turn, or is it too loose, or what is it?
No, it's just too tight.
Too tight?
You hope you're not loose.
No.
Yeah.
You won't be loose.
Yeah.
I kept wanting to go down the corner and slide and pass the boy and go on, but I knew I couldn't, you know.
Right.
So I waited till the last lap and passed him.
So did you like a sloppy track, or did you like a dry slick track? What'd you like?
I like the dry slick track.
Did you?
That's the way they run them nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays they do.
But I kind of did. I liked it for it to get kind of black.
Yeah, back in the day, remember, back in the 70s and 80s, there was still mud. I mean, the first group, cadets or whatever, were the mud daubers. They'd get out there and kind of iron the track out and run a few laps. Nowadays, if you show up at a racetrack and there's a puddle out there at all, drivers raise cane. The track's not prepared right. It's a whole different deal.
They run them dry. They run them too dry, to tell you the truth. They get dusty. And
they get dusty in a hurry.
You know, and it's tires you have to run nowadays just ain't good enough to run on the type tracks we run on.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's changed a lot.
Well, talking about tires, back in the day, late model drivers, they'd show up and they'd have a rack of 30 or 40 tires on their trailers. Nowadays, tracks have limited what you can run, and you just have a few spares sitting around. You don't have that choice of 30 or 40 compounds to choose from. So I guess in that aspect, it saves money. But what's your take on that?
Well, I don't know. Back in the day when they had all them tires, they was about $100 a piece.
Well,
too.
That's true. Yeah, they're like $400 a piece.
So they ain't saving nothing now compared to what they are. And now they've got about 2 compounds, maybe 3 you can run.
Right.
But I don't know. Ain't nothing saving money about it no more.
Yeah. And if like Paris Simmons, bless his heart, got thrown out for a left front having a groove in it, and a left front it doesn't really do much in the world of racing. I don't know what that was all about, but that's the way it was for him.
Yeah.
So now, do you do most of the work on the car? You do all the upkeep on Bubba's cars now?
Pretty much, but I ain't getting no younger. I can't do what I used to do, and that's the reason we don't race as much as we used to.
Yeah.
He helps more than he ever has last couple of years, but we used to have a couple of guys, come to the shop and at least help clean and wash up, and stuff. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know, people's not interested in it like it used to be, especially young people.
Well, I noticed even at the tracks, used to, you'd have everybody was clamoring to be the wrecker service at the racetrack. They wanted to have their wrecker there, and they wanted to showcase it. Nowadays, you can't find anybody that's interested in coming. You got to have a tractor, or you got to have your own racetrack wrecker or whatever, because nobody's interested in doing that kind of thing to promote their business anymore like they used to. So
that's right.
A lot of things have changed.
It's like that with everything. It don't matter what you pay them neither.
Yeah.
I mean, things are different.
Yeah, they sure are. They sure are.
The world's changing.
So who's some of the folks that have become lifelong friends that you met in the racing world? That's what it's all about, so friends.
A lot of people. Jimmy Crawford's one of them over there. James I hadn't seen him a while ago for 30 years.
Yeah.
He ain't right, is he?
I tell you what, James has had his day. James has passed somewhere down the road, hasn't he?
He's a lot older than I am. Gotta be. I don't know. I've met a lot of people, 90% of the people you meet at the racetrack are good people.
Well, I'm friends with the Atlanta Braves announcer at Truist Park, and I asked him one day, I said, Kevin, when's the last time you were with the Braves? And he said, I've never met any of them. And he's been their announcer for 4 years. Yeah. And I'm thinking, that ain't the racing world, man. I'm out there walking around 2 hours before the race, seeing everybody and know their wife's name and their dog's name and their kids' names, and he's never had a chance to even meet a single one of the Braves. And I'm thinking, that ain't the racing world at all. That's different.
Different, ain't it?
Yeah, it's different thing. But we have a special, I don't know, call it a fraternity or a brotherhood or whatever in the racing world that other sports just don't enjoy.
It is. That's the thing about Bubba. Back when I raced, I kind of done my thing and just hung around, whatever. But he's more friendly a person than I am, I guess. He talks to everybody and so forth. I just wasn't. I didn't.
Well, he has a friendly face.
Well,
that's not saying you don't. Okay. I'm just saying he has a friendly face.
I hear you.
Take that for what it's worth, don't you?
You're probably right.
You and I've had this conversation. You had sponsors over the years that were big in your program, and some that were kind of that you didn't really want to have telling you what to do on the racetrack when they became sponsors. But let's talk about some of your sponsors. Who did you have that were influential in your racing career?
Well, it's always been out of my pocket, to tell you the honest truth. We've had a little bit over the years to help here and there. Bo Aylwine, he's been on our car for I don't know how many years. Of course, his daddy was years ago. But Bo's probably the one that's every year. He suggested it himself. So, just a little bit here and there it helps.
That's good. Well, I'll tell you a story about Jackie Jones, how he came to me. I was talking, C.L. Pritchett had that at the state senate, they had that proclamation, and I had Gerald Voiles on to talk about it one night. Well, all of a sudden, I get this text from, or email, Facebook message from a lady by the name of Patsy Jones, but I didn't know from who it was, and she said, my husband has been trying to get in touch with you. He wants to sponsor your show. Well, it didn't take me long to put together Patsy was Jackie Jones, and that's how that came about. So you never know how something like that's going to come about. He kind of approached me through his wife, and he told me this. He said, I've been calling the radio station trying to figure out, and they said they didn't know how to get in touch with you. I said, well, they send me a bill every month. They should have known how to get in touch with me. But anyway, that's worked out to be a great deal for me with Jackie coming on board. So sometimes those things fall in your lap like that.
Yeah, we've had people help us a little bit here and there or whatever, but nothing major like people would think. It's always came out of my pocket.
Yeah, I think people think that sponsorship's a lot more than it usually is.
Yeah. And I always had the theory, if I can't pay for it, I do it myself. Without help, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. So. Y'all got good equipment. You got good hauling equipment, good nice trailer. Y'all got really good stuff.
Got a big truck and trailer sitting there where we used it 3 times last year. Hadn't even used it this year.
Oh, really?
The big one.
Yeah, the big one.
I don't know why it's sitting there paying insurance on it, but.
Well, it's like you said. You told Diane you got to buy something else, right? Tax season's upon you.
Tax season, got to buy something. Trade it for a new one.
Yeah. Well, Tony, It's always good to talk to you. Always good to see you at the track. And thank you for coming and being on the program. Bubba, don't go anywhere. I want to get you up here for just a minute. We're not going to talk long, but I want to get you up because I'm going to talk to you a long time whenever you co-host with me in a few weeks, okay? But we'll do that in a minute. Tony, thanks so much. Anybody else you want to thank?
I'll just thank you for having me, Charles.
Oh, always a pleasure. Always good to talk to you at the track.
All right.
Even though you give me a hard time, I enjoy talking to you.
Falling out them cheers.
Tony Russell, you could catch him many years ago in the 32, and you can catch Bubba in the 32 now. Casey Roberts is on his way up, and I told him I was saving him for last because he's the young guy. It's not usually they say the veteran Casey Roberts is on the racetrack. Well, tonight he's the young guy here. You took a break from racing, man. You got out of racing, and we thought you was never going to race again, and then you just started right off in the same old spot, winning races once again. Good to see you back in Victory Lane, especially at Sugar Creek.
Yeah, we, thanks to Gus Simpson there, kind of get me back going in racing there. Like I said, we took quite a break there, but, I just never know if I was going to race again or not, honestly. So it's hats off to him, for getting me a car there and letting me race it when I want to.
Yeah, that's good. You told me several years ago we were doing the show together, and I think you were on the phone with me, and you told me that Barry Wright told you one time that you'd probably, if at the end of your racing career, you'd probably win as many by somebody else having a flat tire as you would lose by leading the race and having a flat tire yourself. And you got the good end of it this past week.
Yeah, for sure. We, like you said, we've won them that way and lost them that way. But, yeah, you're right. Barry told me that one time, and it pretty much, pretty much stands true, I believe.
Yeah. I was talking to Casey one night, Rusty, and we were talking about Facebook and how that's changed the world of racing. Casey said he went through the scales, and he was light, and nobody knew it. I mean, they just said, you didn't pass, you were light. And he said he got to the trailer, and Kathy said, you were light at the scales? It was already on Facebook. I mean, how you got there that quick? Social media has changed the world of racing, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
So now let's talk about how you've done this season. You've run. You get to choose the races you want to run. How do you choose? I mean, obviously with your work schedule, you have to choose them on whenever you're available.
Yeah, I just kind of look at the schedule and look at my work schedule as well. And we don't race much as we used to, obviously, but just try and pick out some tracks that we accustomed to running good at there, and just pick and choose and just go when we can.
Yeah. So what's on the schedule next? Have you already got a next one picked out?
Yeah, I think we're going to go over to Sumter, South Carolina Saturday, and since they canceled the Hunt the Front stuff at Swainsboro, so I hadn't. My wife says we've been over there, but I can't really remember even going. It's been a long time if we have. So, but yeah, it's pretty cool little place. It looks like I've watched some videos of it. So that's about the only thing really going on this weekend that I would probably go to, I guess.
Yeah. Do you look at money races? I mean, is that what you're trying to go for, or is it laps? What do you, or tracks you've been to? What's your criteria to choose a race you're going to?
Yeah, well, I mean, you want to run for decent money, and much as these things cost, gosh, you got to kind of get a little something in return. But kind of look at that, and you don't want to travel too far away. Kind of keep it 3-4 hours away, and like I said, if it fits in my schedule to where I can and go, and if it's something that one of the tracks I like going to, we just kind of pick and choose and do it like that.
Yeah. Let's go back a few years. When you first started racing, I guess Toccoa was the first track you raced at. It was the first one I remember you being at. And didn't you start in the 99? Didn't you run a 99 number for a while?
Yeah, I did. Just took it, from my dad there,
yeah.
And he let me run it. And I ran it probably a couple of races there, and
well, that's the one you turned over on front straightaway. Was the '99 car, wasn't it?
No, sir, it wasn't. But the '99 car from him, I never did turn it over.
Okay.
So
well, that night that you turned over, I thought the whole roof had caved in. That was the flattest car I'd ever seen on the racetrack. Here you came crawling out of it. That was scary for me.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. But
what year was that?
Gosh,
late 80s, early 90s?
No, it was. It had to be mid 90s.
Mid 90s?
Yeah.
Okay. I've lost track of the decades.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Time flies for sure.
So now, was that like a limited, or what did we call those classes back in those days? Was that an enduro car? What was that?
It was a hobby car.
Hobby car. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then I ran it for a few times there, and then we got a car from Billy Buffton that Cliff Hopkins had bought, and it had number 10 on it, and I just threw a 1 on it because, so it made it 101
Yeah,
there.
and of course, Granddaddy had
Granddad
101.
had
Yeah.
it, so I was like, that's pretty cool, and it stuck, and, been 101 ever since.
Yeah, and I think, was it Ethan? Ethan ran the 101 for a while because he was such a big fan of yours, and then he had to change to the 15.
He sure was, yeah. Sure
Because y'all will be on the track together sometimes. And I told Ethan, I said, you can't do this. It's like we had a kid show up at his name was Jonathan, I've forgotten his last name, but his first name was Jonathan, and he ran the 49 car. And 2 or 3 times during the night, I said, Jonathan Davenport. And somebody said, you're saying Davenport. And I went and told him, I said, if your name's Jonathan and you're running the 49, you're going to be called Davenport, son. I'm sorry. That's just going to be it. I'm sorry. So we were talking about 106 earlier. What a great racetrack that was. And you ran down there every week. And man, that was you and Pennington and Buck and Randy Hemphill and
Doug
Englishes.
It
was just a fantastic little racetrack. Turn 2 was a booger to get through, but everybody somehow made it through.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely unique, but it normally made for good racing.
Yeah. That was fun times.
It was. It really was.
And you look at the guys that were like 3 rows back, all superstar racers.
Yeah, it was stacked field. Like you said, there's a lot of good cars there, and it was every Friday night there. We'd always go down there and race, and they had a good turnout.
Yeah.
Carl Turner and them, I think, ran it, and Leroy and all them guys. Yeah,
I'll tell you a funny story. Pennington down there one night. They had the first. It was a Tag Heuer timing system. They had the first timing system that would print out on tape, and it did a beam. Well, Pennington went out on the track, and when he went by, a clod came up and broke the broke the beam, and it said on 0.01 seconds. And Pennington said, it printed out. I'm on the pole. It printed, and it said, you can't be serious, Jack. 0.01, ain't nobody got that time. But he was determined. He was wanting to be on the pole because that timing thing said 0.01 seconds.
Oh, yeah. He didn't need no help. He was good enough to set fast time most of the time. Jack was a good racer for sure.
Yeah. He told me one time, he asked me, he said, you kin to Mike Head? And I said, I don't know. We're still looking about it. And he said, that's one family tree I wouldn't shake too hard.
Hey, he was a mess, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So you've raced against just, everybody that's in the business. What's been some of the biggest races that you've been involved in? When I did that story on your family, I was down at your shop, and I was just amazed at the $10,000, $20,000, $5,000 checks just all around the shop down there. What's been the biggest one?
I guess I like the race down there at Volusia. It was pretty cool. You had all the Lucas and the World Outlaw guys there because it was speed weeks, and that was a good one to win for sure. With stiff competition down there, many cars they had. And
I'll tell you a story about Volusia. I hate to get off on these stories, but I was announcing at the Volusia asphalt track, and they had just built it. And remember, they built the asphalt track kind of at a 90-degree angle to the dirt track. Well, it was during speed weeks, and I was doing the NASCAR All-Pro Series, and they didn't realize that all the dust from the dirt track was going to come over on the asphalt track. So all the cars go down to turn 1 and hit the dust and spin out. So we had to wait till the dirt track was completely over, sweep the track, and then run the race.
Wow.
Because nobody thought about dust getting on the asphalt track.
Yeah, anyway, that's right.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Sorry, I just had a
that's
story.
fine. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Made you think of something there.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Casey, you outrun Bloomquist at a big race, didn't you?
Yeah, for sure. That was
proud
pretty
moment.
cool. That was actually at Volusia that night. I was talking about. Yeah, so it was. The race with that guy there. It was pretty cool to race with him a lot there, and he was definitely probably the best ever strap into one in my opinion, for sure.
Yeah, he came and raced asphalt race with at Peach State, ran second next to, behind Jody Ridley in All Pro race at Peach State. Back 90 something. He had just come back from Australia. Remember when he went to Australia to run that Supercar series over there? And he told me the cars ran backward. They ran clockwise instead of counterclockwise.
Right.
And he said that was awful hard to get used to. He said your body just doesn't feel like it ought to be turning that way.
Oh yeah, that would be strange for sure. Yeah.
What's the craziest race you've ever won? Have you done any of those gimmick things like a figure eight or one where they pay you to start in the rear if you can win the race? Have you done any of those kind of things?
No, not really. I just pretty much always just done the traditional old regular races. Honestly, I've never been a part of nothing. Nothing crazy.
Not a gimmicky guy.
No, not really. I guess not. So, but yeah, it's we've seen a lot of crazy races, but I've never really been a part of one.
Yeah. this past weekend, was it the last lap? Who was it that was leading the race?
Zach Mitchell.
Mitchell, yeah.
Got the lead there early, and it was probably on lap. It was really early in the race, like lap 8 or 9 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was. It was going to be a good race. We were looking forward to racing it out with him, but unfortunately, he had a tire go down. So, but who knows what would have happened? But he's a great guy to race with. He run you clean and. It's a lot of fun to race with him.
David Smith kind of introduced Zach Mitchell into the deal many years ago, and we used to call him Kid Quick. That was his nickname. I asked him when he got older. I said, "What are we going to call you now that you're not Kid Quick?" And what do they call him now?
They still actually call him that.
Oh, do they? He still goes by Kid Quick?
That's what I heard him announce it the other night at the track.
Oh, sure enough. Yeah. Okay.
So.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know now that he'd gotten older if we were still using kid terminology or not.
Yeah.
But you've been to Georgia Bandit. Who started that?
Be honest, I really don't know. I don't know if it was Rick Elsherman or someone like that, maybe.
Because you used to come in and take all the money as the bandit. Was that the deal?
I don't know. It's just somehow somebody started calling me that, and it kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure who it was.
Well, now with Zach, and you may have answered this. If you did, I was thinking of something else. Was it last lap that he had a flat tire?
No, it was like lap 8 or 9. It was
it was early in the race.
Early in the race, yeah.
Okay.
We were racing it up, side by side there pretty good, and unfortunately, like I said, he had a tire go down, but it was going to be fun to race it out with him. But who knows what would have happened? Yeah. He may have won. We may have still won. I don't know, but it was definitely, we were pretty equal there. I felt like, but it's a good track to go to up there, and hadn't raced up there much at all. But I look forward to going back.
Yeah, I announced up there a couple of years for him when it was Blue Ridge Motorsports Park, and then when they renamed it Sugar Creek. Nice little racetrack. As long as you don't hit the tires in the infield, that's for some of those lower divisions, that's a roadblock for them sometimes because those tires can do some damage. But it's a great little racetrack.
It is. It's a fun little place. You can normally, a couple times I've been there, you can kind of run the middle top or bottom. So that's all you can ask for is it not to be one lane. So
I was up there one night and we saw this car come in on an open trailer, 62 Chevy pickup pulling this open trailer. Number 5 race car on the back is Ronnie Johnson.
Wow.
And Ronnie showed up, and he wound up winning the race. And so I go down to Victory Lane to interview him, and I said, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "What are you doing here?" Because we hadn't seen each other in like 20 years, you know. And we knew each other right off the bat whenever we got there. And I was interviewing him, and I said, at the end of the race, I said, "Man, things were closing in. The guys running second and third were about to catch you." I said, "Was your car tightening up?" He said, "No, I got cocky. I thought I had a bigger lead than I did." But he waxed him, buddy.
Ronnie's a good one. He's a great guy. We've been up there and spent time with him at his place, and he'd always be inviting us up there to work on the car, whatever we need to do. He would just take us right in, do whatever you need to do at the shop there.
Yeah. Do you keep the car up now?
I do. It's there at the shop at my place there.
You like doing that, don't you?
I'm more of a hands-on guy. Kind of just. I've always been that way. I don't know. It's hard for me to drive something that I really don't work on, to put the trust in it. But I just kind of weird about stuff like that, I guess. But
we can't let this go by without talking about the Cushmans. They were good to you, and that was a family you drove for so many years.
Yeah, I love them like family. So it's super cool to have spent all that years with them guys, and we still talk and still absolutely part of their family, and so I just cherish the times we spent together and all the racing we had, and met a lot of good people. And I've always said, if you put yourself around good people, good things will happen. Yeah. So that's kind of, Lord's blessed me with a lot of good people and stuff in my racing career. So just thankful for that, for sure.
Yeah. You mentioned Gus Simpson, obviously. Who else do you want to thank? Who else you got sponsored the car?
Yeah, well, Gus Simpson for sure, and Simpson Trucking and Grading, Ralph Grizzle Trucking, got, let's see, Rod Roberts Trucking, Hoosier Racing Tire, that Bill Sting Shocks. I got to thank my buddy Matt up at Longhorn. If it wasn't for him, he keeps us up to date on all their setups and stuff, and gets us up to speed. And just thank my wife there, and all the kids go with me, and we have a good time. And just got to just been blessed to. I know I'm forgetting a lot of people, but just thanks to everyone that helps us out.
Well, you mentioned Rod Roberts. Is he racing at all anymore?
I don't think so. Gus bought some stuff from him. I think he actually bought him out. Truck, trailer, race cars, the whole 9 yards. So I think he must have sold out, I guess, and so. Yeah, I don't think.
Well, I hadn't seen him. Of course, I haven't been around the tracks that much, but I hadn't seen him around the tracks at all.
Yeah. I think he sold out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, by the way, you got to tell the Susan Sarandon story. You told me about that, teaching her how to drive a stick shift. Tell that story.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Out there, we were out there at the studio, and my boss man said, got someone you got to teach to drive a 3-speed on the tree, and I'm like, okay. Little did I know it was Susan Sarandon. When I got in the car with her, it was pretty cool. So, but she done really well with it. It didn't take her long. She picked right up on it. So it's pretty neat for sure.
She's pretty nice to work with.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she was super sweet.
Yeah. So do you get to travel all over looking for old cars for movies? Is that part of your duties, or you just work on what they bring in?
Exactly. Yeah, I just kind of work on what they bring in, or get the actors comfortable driving them, or whatever, and get them up on set.
Who's the most difficult person you ever worked with?
I don't really know.
We'll talk after.
Yeah. That's probably better.
Hey, Casey, we appreciate you taking time to be here, man. It's always good to talk to you.
Thank you.
You brought a lot of folks a lot of joy in this area. We always keep up with you, and we appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I thank Stumper and them for having us down here.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, thanks so much, Casey Roberts. Bubba Russell's going to come up for just a minute. Where'd the Hog Rocket go? He's been out doing well stuff today. Getting people water that didn't need it. We appreciate you doing that more than being here. I'm glad you're able to get here, though. So the Hog Rocket is with us. For those that don't know, tell them the story of the Hog Rocket, how it came about, the name.
I'm really not sure. We was at the shop one night, and we was all sitting around, and we'd bought a rocket, and I told him, I said, I hope it's fast as a rocket, because I'm fat as a hog.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
That's how it come about.
Well, I heard somebody else said you fat as a hog. You didn't say it, but anyway, maybe that's the case.
Yeah. I'm sure no fat as a hog now.
Well, it's good to see you here. Good to have your daddy on. It was special to have Tony on tonight along with these other guys that are legendary racers. And, man, just such a cool night to have everybody on here.
Yep, it was. A lot of good people on that sheet. A lot of people I looked up to as a kid.
A lot of laps amongst all those guys, yeah.
Yep.
And it's been very special to me to have them, especially on a special night like this as we're celebrating the anniversary of the show. You racing much this year?
We haven't been. Of course, the rain's got us, but I'm working so much, I ain't been able to travel none. And
so what's going on with people's wells and things right now? It's not wintertime, so it's not frozen weather. So what's happening?
It's stuff that we done 20 years ago. And I worked for a former company. They kind of scaled back, and they ain't doing what they was, and I got a lot of their business and doing a lot of stuff. I knew customers over the years, and 20-year cycles done come around. All the pumps I put in 20 years ago starting to go out now.
I got you. What's the plan for racing?
I don't know. We still going to do some local stuff, and
you still got your supercar or no longer?
We still got a motor. We ain't got it in it, and Daddy,
Vic Hill
does all he can do. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we're going to still do some local stuff. We might travel, might go out. I'd like to run them races last weekend, but my youngest daughter's birthday, so she wanted to go to the beach.
Y'all took off to the beach, yeah.
We went to the beach.
Can't beat that.
No. We try to go as much as we can.
Yeah, shoot, yeah. So let's talk a little bit about you want to race, was it into last year?
I want to race at Lawrence this year.
Lawrence, yeah, this year, that's right.
First this year at Lawrence.
Yeah. What was that track like?
It's kind of like Hartwell in a way.
Really?
I've always run good over there, and I've always liked the racetrack. We just never really went over there a lot.
Yeah.
We go by two racetracks going to Lawrence. We go past Livonia and Hartwell, both to get there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to drive past them when you can, stay right there close to the house.
They got that Shrine race coming up here soon, don't they? Don't they have that Tuesday night race, Shrine race at Lawrence? Is that at Lawrence?
They do. I think they're going to run the 602s this year.
Oh, are they?
They
okay.
are.
Okay, so they're not running limiteds for
That's
that
right.
race. Okay.
Yep.
And that's always a big race.
It is.
They've been on me for years to try to come over to that one. I've just never gotten over there.
Yeah, they used to run the late models. Casey used to go over there all the time.
Yeah.
And then they've scaled back, and I think year before last they run the limiteds with the Shrine race, and now they've went to the 602s.
So how much notice do I have to give you, or do you have to give me that you can come to the studio and be a co-host with me?
The best thing to do is call and say you out of water. And then Christy will put on my schedule, and I can get there.
All right, so I'm going to be out of water on Thursday night in about 3 weeks. Can you handle that?
We'll see what we can do.
Bubba, we appreciate it. Don't want to take a whole lot of time because I want to interview you when we get on radio that night and spend a lot of time talking. But we did want to at least get you on tonight for just a minute.
All right, thank y'all.
Special night. Thanks
That's
for being
right.
here. Yeah.
And it lucked up. I was in Carnesville. I told Casey and Jimmy a while ago, I come by Jimmy's Road, Casey's house about 90 a while ago trying to get over here.
Well, we appreciate everybody being here. Our upcoming events are brought to you by Junior's Bar and Grill on Big A Road in Toccoa coming up this weekend. Of course, tomorrow night, Toccoa Raceway, big race coming up because it's the makeup from Memorial Day weekend. And then on Saturday night, Livonia Speedway is running, also Windermere Speedway, and, of course, NASCAR as at Nashville Super Speedway. Rusty, you get a chance to watch much NASCAR racing now?
No, not a lot of watching.
Yeah, we don't. I try to watch it because I got to report on them. I got to do the JNC Auto Care report on Monday mornings, so I got to know what's going on. So that's my excuse to be able to watch all the races. So.
I nap good. Good during the
do
race.
you? Well, I appreciate you being with me tonight. Thanks so much. Always good whenever I stop in at JNC and see you there. We spent a lot of years together, and then we didn't see each other for a lot of years, so it's good to get back together. Now, y'all are getting Jimmy's old shop back together for some memorabilia. Tell us about what you're doing there.
Yeah, Jimmy retired from the parts business, and then I built a '79 Trans Am Smoking Bandit car, and I've got my car when I was 16, my '74 Camaro. It's over at Jimmy's shop. You
got to tell that story. I've wanted to write that article. Tell that story quick to people that haven't heard about it. That's a phenomenal story. Get this.
My dad had cancer and passed away right after I turned 16. So he gave me my '74 Camaro C28, red and black, and gave it to me for Christmas before I turned 16 in January because he didn't think he was going to make it to my birthday, which he passed away that summer. So he did I get to have his 16th birthday and everything. Well, when I went to college, I couldn't afford the gas in that '74 Camaro, so I sold it. Sold it to Harold Roach, Wendell and Harold Roach. They kept it for years and years. Well, my son got hired at Duke Power, and he knew I missed my car so bad. I wanted it back. Him and my wife hunted it down, found it, bought it back. A lot of the mechanics in Toccoa got together at night, worked on it, got it running good, and he gave it to me for Father's Day. That was, how many years ago was that?
But tell the story about y'all having the cookout and you saying, that looked like my old car.
Yeah, it was Father's Day, and we were all, my family and everything was all out in my yard, and the car went by, and I looked and I thought, well, that looked just like my Camaro. And then it turned around in Jimmy's driveway, turned around and came back down the driveway, and my son was driving it, and he got out and threw me the keys and said, Happy Father's Day.
Yeah. What a story!
Yeah, my legs were shaking after that.
Yeah, I bet. I bet some raindrops were falling from the sky, weren't they?
Yeah, everybody asked me how much is that car worth, and I said it's not worth a dime because it's not for sale.
Yeah, absolutely, man. What a great story, man! I tell you what, that story that's worthy of publishing somewhere. People need to know that story. But Rusty, thanks for being here tonight.
Yes,
thanks for bringing this crowd in. You're responsible for a lot of them being here, and I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And it's been a fun night, and we thank everybody for tuning in, and we will see you back on radio and Facebook Live next Thursday night. So tune in 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Bye, everybody.